Happy Hump Day, everyone. My story is from Fox 19 in Cincinnati, Ohio, by Brady Williams. The headline is Ohio marijuana sales exceeding expectations, high sales from other states. Recreational marijuana sales in Ohio have been legal for a week and business is booming. Sales in Ohio and the greater Cincinnati area are rivaling some of the top cannabis markets in the country. It's also attracting customers from nearby states where recreational marijuana isn't legal. We're seeing numbers at dispensaries that rival numbers in established markets like Illinois that have been up and running for years, Jason Erkes of Cresco Labs said. We're seeing that in the first week in Ohio. Cresco Labs owns Sunnyside Dispensary in Cincinnati. Erkes said the demand has been high from Ohioans and out-of-staters. We're seeing a lot of out-of-state licenses when people are checking in, Erkes said. A lot of out-of-state license plates in the parking lot. We know that people want access to regulated lab-tested products, and they don't have access to that in those states. Anyone from Indiana or Kentucky, where marijuana sales are prohibited, can buy cannabis in Ohio if they're old enough. But bringing it across state lines is illegal because marijuana is illegal at the federal level. Some people are willing to take that risk to get safe products, Erkes said. Once they walk out of the dispensary, where they consume it is really on them. Erkes said he couldn't give a specific number or percentage on out-of-state sales and customers, but he's seen enough to know there's a market in those states. Those states are leaving a lot of tax revenue on the table, Erkes said. Not all of Ohio's neighbors have prohibited recreational marijuana sales. Michigan legalized recreational marijuana in 2018, and prices are considerably lower there. Every state has a different set of structures and rules, Erkes said. Michigan is not a limited license state, which means the state is really saturated with stores and they're competing against each other, driving prices down, and a lot of businesses are failing. While prices are higher and consumers are spending more, Erkes believes Ohio's approach is better for the long term. By allowing it to ramp up with a number of stores and building on that, it's really a smart way to make sure there's stability and sustainability in the cannabis program, Erkes said. Fox 19 reached out to Kentucky State Police to ask how they would approach the interstate transport of cannabis from Ohio to Kentucky. We asked whether people should expect more patrols near bridges or should use increased caution during traffic stops, but KSP hadn't replied at the time this article was published. The headline is Ohio marijuana sales exceeding expectations, high sales from other states. You know, my take is it's exceeding the expectations of prohibitionists, but longtime Ohio residents know that so many Ohioans really want to get high in Ohio that it's really not a surprise. And what is interesting is that so many people from nearby states like ultra-prohibitionist Indiana and Kentucky are coming to Ohio. And I do expect that there's going to be sting operations and that this criminal enforcement of absurd cannabis laws will lead to further reform in states like Indiana and Kentucky. And so it's going to have a long-term salutary effect. But I think now in the Midwest, it's clear, you know, now that Ohio has gone legal and it's a booming business and they have this limited market where they don't allow competition, and that ultimately hurts the consumers. It's interesting to see how that's going to end up playing out. It seems like Ohio really is a state like Florida where the fix is in. This is Omar Figueroa, lawyer, publisher, and Ganjier instructor, reporting from Sonoma County, California, the traditional territory of the Pomo, Miwok, and Wapo nations for High at 9, high noon Eastern.
Oh, man. Omar, great to have you back, buddy. This is so Ohio. Here's my big question with Ohio, because you brought up Kentucky, right, Omar, in this story?
Yep.
Okay. And if you remember a while ago, Governor Beshears said that patients can travel to other states to purchase weed and bring it back. But yet you have the Kentucky State Troopers coming out against that, and they're the ones that actually do this type of enforcement, and basically saying, hey, if you travel into our state with weed and we're going to bust you for it. Where does the line in the sand really draw?
Well, I think that people should remember the laws don't travel with you. And if you're going to break the cannabis possession law, only break one law at a time. You don't need to be speeding. You don't need to be committing other violations of the law
Expired
if you're going to be transporting illegal cannabis. Expired tags, maybe not having, there's all sorts of like petty vehicle violations that the cops will seize on. Like, your license plate is not fully visible because the license plate.
Those little plates, those little plates that cover them.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they have all sorts of wacky reasons, like, the tire flaps don't fully cover the tires, the mud flaps don't fully cover the tires. They have all sorts of wacky things. So make sure your vehicle, if you're going to be doing this kind of activity, is completely compliant, and that you have not only a radar detector, but you're following the speed limit. Because I've had so many cases where my client is going 1 mile over the speed limit, and that's enough to get pulled over. That's all it takes. 1 mile over the speed limit.
Make sure you don't have that radar detector in one of the states that doesn't allow that one either.
Oh yeah, that's
Florida. I'm looking at you.
Now,
one of the frustrating things I keep seeing is that inside law enforcement policymakers are still a lot of prohibitionists. Okay, in some of these states you can see law enforcement's heavy with the prohibitionists, and we like to talk about the tax dollars that get raised in cannabis-friendly states. But what we don't ever get a look at is how much does law enforcement spend in enforcing these ridiculous cannabis laws? Because I think if people could see how much they were spending to do this, when they're not looking at fentanyl as hard, I mean, why are they doing this? Okay? Because there are a lot of criminal problems out there, and criminal problems with drugs. Meth and fentanyl are killing this country right now. And so we're going to go set the state line, look for someone with, tinted windshield. We're going to pull them over, have the dog go around, search. We got weed now. Okay, how much did that cost you? And what did you actually accomplish when, people are dying every day from overdoses of fentanyl? Lives are being ruined because of methamphetamine. And we still got people want to go out and make this big headline splash. I'm going to fight weed. Stop it. American people want weed. People are smoking weed over alcohol more and more. There's a paradigm shift here. I'd like to see public education about the numbers it costs to enforce these ridiculous goddamn marijuana laws. I'd like to see that.
Fair enough.
I mean, the story's about like how much they're exceeding the sales, right? And so I think that's interesting because I don't think they're exceeding it by volume. I think they're exceeding it by dollar amount. And we've read story after story about these really, really inflated prices, especially when you're contrasting the medicinal prices and the adult use prices in Ohio, and the fact that you can only buy a tenth. If I've got to buy a teeny tiny little piss-ass amount and I've got to pay out my butt for it, and I probably got to buy a few of them to get a blunt that's got 3.5 in it.
Up to 25.
Then, I'm probably spending more than I should be. So I think, once again, cannabis regulations and prohibition have made prices seem higher than they actually are.
That's a fair point. Now I have a question, because I'm really confused by this whole thing, because with the governor of Kentucky saying that med card patients should go out of state and pick up their cannabis and bring it back. Could that be possibly used as an actual defense in court?
Omar,
yeah. I mean, because the governor, who is the head of the state, has basically told the citizens that, hey, you can do this. So couldn't they use those statements as a defense in court if they are busted for coming across the state line with a marked bag of cannabis?
Yeah, it would be a total stretch, but there is a defense known as reliance on official authority, also known as entrapment by estoppel. And so you would be trying to fit a square peg in a round hole with an offhand comment that a politician said, unless the politician really, made a detailed statement saying
it was pretty detailed. There was a whole article all about it.
Well, fantastic. I think if it's I think that would be reasonable doubt for a jury.
Yeah.
I don't think, that could be a viable defense. I think the problem is, even if it worked once or twice, Bashir would probably issue a clarifying statement saying, "Oh, I didn't give people license to break the law. I can't be seen as doing that." He's a politician.
I mean, but he did like he knows that you can't travel across state lines. He's smart enough to know that. And he said,
I don't know what his exact language was. Like if he said you can purchase cannabis products outside Kentucky and bring it into Kentucky, no problem.
He did. Basically, well, yes.
And I had a client who got busted for, bringing stuff into Kentucky. I would absolutely point at that Bashir statement. I would call Bashir as a witness, and my case would probably get dismissed once, Bashir, my percipient witness, would move to quash the subpoena, and, he'd probably pull some strings and make it all go away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair. We tried that in my case, Omar. It didn't work out so well. Oh. You can try it, but the pretrial motions would probably clarify whether you get to do it or not. And in my case, they didn't, even though cops were telling me, "Oh, I'm doing a great job and all this stuff is wonderful and blah, 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 blah." It didn't go very far when the feds rolled in and put the handcuffs on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so many times, like the judge will be like, it doesn't quite fit every single technical, element of the defense, and you're missing one or two key ingredients, and therefore, no witness, no defense. That's what happened to Dale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I didn't take a plea. I said, "Fuck you, you're going to try my ass," and they did. Mm-hmm. I wanted to make them look. If you're going to throw a doctor and lawyer in prison for doing what we did, and you're going to do it in front of God and everybody and the television cameras and all that. But they didn't give a shit. They didn't care. They wanted to send the message out that, we will do this to you if you dare. And it didn't stop anything, right, Omar? Just
not at all. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It hastened the reform. I mean, if we look back at the, years when Dr. Fry and Dale were in the Sierra foothills doing revolutionary, the creator's work, really, that it was instrumental in having legalization across not just California, but across the whole country. It was very inspiring to people everywhere that people had that level of conviction in their cause that they were willing to go to prison. And, it was not just Dale and Molly. We also had Reverend Roger Christie in Hawaii and his wife Cher, and they also took their case to trial and said, "You know what? Let the jury hear." And what happened in both cases, and in all cases where people took their case to trial, like Brian Epps, is that the jury did not hear the whole truth. The whole truth, and nothing but the truth. They only heard a selective version, edited by the federal judge of the truth. And so that also hastened legalization when the public saw that the whole truth was not being told in court. That caused a big backlash in the court of public opinion.
Yeah, that did. Especially too, with the Brian Epps trial, Omar, that you bring up, that picture of Brian Epps' daughter holding the sign that says, holding up the sign during the protest that says, "The DEA took my daddy away." I think it just speaks volumes to exactly what you're talking about. And we do want to thank Troy Lawrence with a big old super chat who says, "Where are they getting weed? July, it opened. What the hell?" In regards with Ohio.
California.
I did answer that. They did dual use licensing, so the existing cultivators that were medical only were allowed to begin cultivation, but that's also why they said they were doing the prices so high, because they were worried about running out.
They should worry about selling out and just getting rid of that boof. Just dump it.
You should go try it, Jason.
Just dump it.
Go shake some Buckeyes and smoke some Ohio weed.
Buckeyes, that's cute. And one other quick update, you guys. Ben LeBone threw in the chat, says breaking that Trump is going to hold a press conference in New Jersey tomorrow, And so that is going to be interesting. We'll make sure to cover that here on High at 9 News. I imagine that's when the press is going to come out and he's going to say that he is going to vote yes on Amendment 3 in Florida. But that's just my prediction, but we'll stand by and keep you guys posted.
What snack do you predict that Chris Christie will be eating during this press conference?
He likes Dunkin' Donuts, from my understanding.
All right.
In his white boots, right?
Oh, excuse me. It's actually Krispy Kremes because we call them Krispy Kreme.
I bet he goes when the sign's on, so you know they're hot. It's a good time to go.
And Trump's going to legalize weed, right? That's his PR position.
He already did legalize weed with the Farm Bill. Just saying.
Yeah. You believe that? I got some swampland outside of Phoenix for you.
It's just, it is what it is. It is what it is.